You're all getting to the ocean in Attack on Titan Season 3. So what's up guys, Foxen here. You heard that right, it's official as it gets. 2 arcs are definitely confirmed for Attack on Titan Season 3. Anyway, finally I got some time to make this video at 3 AM. I was lucky enough to catch the Attack on Titan Season 3 premiere at Anime Expo. This year I was there as an industry guest. There is so much to cover, so I'm definitely gonna go down everything that happened in this first episode. That includes all the changes, which there's already a ton. They did cut a huge chunk of fan out too. So let me mention, this is gonna include spoilers for the first episode, and the Uprising arc for stuff covered in the first episode. Let me begin this by saying, and do quote me later, Attack on Titan Season 3 will be the best Attack on Titan season yet. I'm completely convinced about that after watching episode 1. I was in tears by the end of this first episode. I mentioned about 2 arcs being confirmed. They actually start the first episode with the ocean scene. Yeah, I'm not even joking. You see this long-haired Eren, and he's just looking forward into the distance. You could hear the sound of the wind and sound of the ocean nearby. It's just Eren there from his backside, no Armin or Mikasa anywhere. And that is how you begin Attack on Titan Season 3. Are they spoiling anything? Next up, as for the new opening. Unfortunately at this premiere, they did not show the new opening or new ending. At this point, I'm guessing the new opening visuals and song may not be completed just yet. However, we do have information about this. Linked Horizon is not returning to make the opening. Instead, for the new opening for Season 3, it's going to be X Japan featuring Hyde. These guys are basically musical titans from Japan, which is really yet another example of how Attack on Titan Season 3 is going all out. Keep in mind that Attack on Titan Season 3 should have 2 openings. I would not be surprised at all if we see them coming back for the Beast Titan arc, which I'm actually hoping for. Also, really quick, I mentioned being at Anime Expo this year as an industry guest, so I may or may not have gotten a chance to meet a certain raging voice actor. It was just so awesome. Anyway, on to the episode. Knowing what's coming up with this arc, it really felt like I was watching the Uprising arc on fast forward. And I am getting ahead of myself, but you actually got to see everything from the Attack on Titan Season 3 trailer, except for 2 scenes. Anyway, from this breakdown, I'm just gonna go chapter by chapter. Starting with chapter 51, which was the end of Attack on Titan Season 2. If you recall, there was a scene covered at the very end of the finale. It was an interaction between Hanji, Erwin, and Levi. They were discussing some juicy info about Titan related stuff. Unfortunately, this didn't make it into the actual episode. At the beginning for this episode, that instead got put into one of the mid-episode info cards. This was talking about how the human brain was related to functionality within a Titan body, specifically about the mindless Titans, not Eren. By now I'm sure you've seen the leaked clip of episode 1 from season 3, which is really just a Survey Corps hiding out. Let me actually jump to Pastor Nick. For starters, as a nice change, they actually added a quick scene of the pastor alive. Pastor Nick suddenly got a knock on the door one night. And that is the last he heard of him. Compare this to the manga, where you just see Hanji telling everyone that the pastor died. Then flashes back to her interaction with the military police. For Hanji's solo scene here compared to the manga, it really seemed like the scene was either simplified, or they just cut out some of the extra detail in the dialogue. As for the pastor's torture scene, this was kept pretty much the same as the manga, which was really one still image with blood effects flying across the screen. This went by really quickly. I wasn't able to notice too much of it except the guy's fist. Next up, a little bit later as Hanji and Levi are discussing this with the Survey Corps members. In the manga, there's a lot more detail in the conversation between them, but for the anime it seemed like they just decided to stick on the pastor topic. As for one big change here, when Historia and Eren are alone doing the dishes or whatever, they actually have their conversation here. Eren makes a comment about how Historia does not seem fake anymore. This whole conversation does take place in the manga, but you actually don't see it until 2 chapters later. As for something else they changed with this episode, they actually don't get into Historia's past here. In the manga, this happened in the second half of chapter 52. Instead, you do see a still image when Levi talks about it. So Historia telling them about what happened does happen in the series. They're really just saving it for later. Next up, Eren's Titan training. So you've seen it from the trailer, you see Eren's Titan training here, which starts in the manga in chapter 53. Hanji was really just trying to see if Eren could get his Titan hard to help seal the wall. As for that one scene, here they really did make Eren's face look quite gruesome. It really made you feel really bad for him. Eren looked freaking dead or like a year-old zombie. For a second I just forgot that he could regenerate. Oh, and Mikasa sounded really worried. As for another change here, that's pretty much it for all the Titan training from the chapter. The episode only goes up to them finishing the Titan training and then getting the hell out of that area. They didn't even include the scene of Eren waking up again. As for Erwin this chapter, I'm actually not sure whether they showed Erwin, and if they did, it must have been very brief. Because in the next scene, it does jump to the Survey Corps getting the scene about Erwin getting arrested, so they get the hell out of their hideout. As they're taking off, do notice quite a few new additions. First off, before Hanji and Eren split off, Eren hands a letter over to Hanji. Eren said he just remembered a conversation between Ymir and Reiner when he was kidnapped. Eren just didn't have a chance to tell her earlier. This actually did happen in the manga, but it doesn't happen until 3 chapters later. As for a second new addition, in the scene where the guys are torturing their previous hideout, a little bit later you do get this new shot of Kenny and his blonde assistant overlooking the area. Kenny just makes a comment about how Levi was quick to escape. Jumping over to the scene where they're setting up not Eren and not Historia to get captured, you get a good chunk of new stuff. For whatever reason on this day, there's some sort of King's Festival taking place. They go ahead and mention how once a year the king is kind enough to share his wealth with the people. Everyone gets some sort of ration. Right here you have Sasha thinking about how the king must be really generous. Talking about the scene, here's a new scene added for him. It jumps to the king's throne room shot from the trailer. Right here, they mention something about having only 60% left, or giving 60% of their savings away. For some reason, they're doing these type of giveaways to the people to raise the king's approval. Here, also notice an important change. Rod Reis is confirmed to be in this shot. Specifically, they're telling this information to him. The king is just in the background listening, or asleep. Next up, of course, a kidnapping takes place. A little before this compared to the manga, I do believe that the dialogue here was shortened. Next up, the whole warehouse scene. Yeah, I'm talking about not Eren and not Historia. To be honest, I didn't think too much of the scene when I first read it. Perhaps I just sped through it. However, now seeing Armin molested in the anime, it just made my freaking skin crawl. It was disturbing to watch. And some people were laughing in the audience, but I was just picturing Historia there instead. I'm a little glad that instead Armin took the bullet. Sorry, Armin. Next up, on top of the warehouse. You still get this interaction between Mikasa and Levi. Mikasa goes ahead and asks how Levi's leg is doing. I actually thought this was a new scene added, but it was at the end of chapter 53. It does however feel like they spend more time on this in the anime. You could really tell that Mikasa feels bad about it. I mean, it was her fault after all. Although here, notice a big change. After they have this conversation, Levi takes off. Levi is completely cut from the warehouse scene. So, what does this mean for Levi's scene in the warehouse? Instead of having Mikasa and Levi beat up everyone in the warehouse, all of that is given to Mikasa alone. So, you got Mikasa kicking much more ass in the anime. 100% more ass for Mikasa. Of course, this means for the scenes after this, with Levi talking to the Reef boss, never happened. At least not yet. In the warehouse, at the time that the boss is being questioned about who hired him, it cuts to Levi elsewhere on the rooftop. Right here, Levi is with Nifa and some other survey guys nearby. Here, that's pretty much it for chapter 54. As for chapter 55 and 56, both of these chapters were completely skipped. The only small thing covered was Eren recalling that conversation with Ymir and Reiner that I mentioned earlier. Is this stuff gonna happen later? Perhaps. Next up, fast forward to chapter 57. You got Levi on the rooftop. From the manga, at this point, do notice that real Eren and real Historia have already been kidnapped. In the anime, however, Levi is instead tracking down this other carriage. I would imagine that Eren and Historia are safe somewhere else. Anyway, as for the kills, the first blood splatter is poor Nifa. This happens really quick in the anime, and it doesn't really get as much attention as it does in the manga. However, the shot of Mr. Goggles getting killed looks much worse. You do get a close-up shot of his dead face, and then it looks like his body fell over the building. Of course, this happens from Kenny appearing. To be honest, I'm not sure if I'm recalling this correctly, but I do believe that Kenny's gun color was changed to a more bronze or golden color, instead of the silver as you saw from the trailer. In this episode, you do still see Levi screaming out, pissed off at him. However, this is followed from the shot in the trailer with Kenny's squad coming in. All of a sudden, you see like 20 or 30 of these guys in the air around Kenny and Levi. Then, it's over. So, what a freaking cliffhanger, and I do love that addition. Anyway, as for things that were cut this episode, first off, anything involving Erwin seems to not have been covered. That includes Erwin's conversation with Pixies, Erwin talking with Hanji, or Erwin's forced meeting with the king. All of this isn't here yet. Another thing that was cut with anything was the Reeves boss. This does include Levi's conversation with him on top of the wall, and him doing that fake kidnapping of Eren and Historia. The only thing in this episode was that initial warehouse scene, so who knows if they're still gonna do them. Earlier I did mention that every single shot from the Attack on Titan Season 3 trailer did appear in this episode, except for 2 scenes. Both of those were actually Levi scenes. The first was of Levi running away from Kenny shooting at him, and then the second was of Levi cutting those 2 guys in half. I would imagine both of these are in episode 2. So far this episode has so many changes. They went from chapter 51 all the way to chapter 57. You might be wondering why. Why are they making all these changes? It really all goes back to Isayama. He's actually been pretty open about how he wasn't happy about the Uprising arc in the manga. So now he's using this opportunity in the anime to fix it. Also keep in mind that a lot of the changes here were perhaps to start off season 3 with a bang. Otherwise, it would have been pretty slow for the first 2 or 3 episodes, if they did follow it shot for shot from the manga. Since they've already made all these changes to the Uprising arc so far, I really can't wait to see what they do for the rest of the series. But anyway, let me hear from you now. Question of the day. What do you think about them kicking off season 3 with the ocean scene? Is it too much of a spoiler? And how do you feel about all these huge changes? By the way, if you do have any questions about this first episode, definitely post below. Anyway, definitely give this a colossal thumbs up and subscribe. If you're new to the channel, you can watch over 5 anime videos here every week. I will be doing weekly breakdowns for Attack on Titan Season 3 once it starts. I can't wait. Check out my recent non-spoiler review on the My Hero Academia movie. Was it plus ultra enough? And I'll see you guys later.